But let me tell you what changed my mind. So my grandma, my halmoni, she was diagnosed with colon cancer a couple of years ago. And I felt the stress that it had on our family, not just emotionally, but financially as well. She had 4 kids, and even it trickled down to the grandchildren, the financials, trickled down to the grandchildren, to us. And it was just so, I could see that she was so heartbroken that even her grandchildren were pitching in for her medical bills. It got to that point, and I was telling myself, if she had insurance, if she had that safety net, then maybe she wouldn't have to feel as bad as she did. So I was thinking to myself, if you start early, and I wasn't even making much before, if you start early and you put in what you can, then that alone is okay, because that'll blossom after years. You know, you don't even have to get sick right away. That's not something you look forward to. But then in the long run, if something like that happens, you're prepared. Now prepared, speaking of prepared, you all knew, is this your first time here in Ride Revolution, by the way? Yes? Good luck. No. But see, it's always nice to be prepared. It's nice to know where you're going, because I see nobody in a skirt. You know, I'm sure you all have your change of clothes. You all have your water bottle. Can you imagine if you didn't know what this place was all about? If you didn't know that you would be sweating buckets by the end of 30 minutes, right? So it would be just, it would ruin your day. That's what it would do. So in cases that you can be prepared, I suggest that you can. You take the necessary measures that you can to be prepared. I have 2 cousins who are chiropractors, and I am an extreme believer that cancer can be prevented. Any sickness can be prevented, just as long as you eat right, you exercise, and you have that positive outlook. So that's what I like to do in the cases that you're not prepared, or like, let's say sickness does hit you, and it's unfortunate. It's really good to have those small safety nets planted early on. So I am 28. I am expecting my first baby in a couple of months. And I already am thinking of my grandma in mind. I'm like, okay, you know what? When the time comes that if ever something like that happens, I don't want to have my grandchildren paying also financially for those medical bills, just in case it happens. So yeah, especially for me, 28, you know, just in your 20s, start early. That's what some people will tell you. Heed that advice if you have nephews, nieces, if you know people who are young as well. Tell them to invest in a really, really, really good insurance company. So yeah, thank you very much for your time. Enjoy.